Hey there, movie buffs and book lovers. Let's dive into the heartwarming world of The Chosen at 1982, a drama that beautifully brings Chaim Potok's 1967 novel to life. Directed by Jeremy Kagan, this film takes you on a journey through friendship, faith, and finding one's own path, all set against the backdrop of Brooklyn, New York in the 1940s. Plot summary: meet Reuven Malter and Danny Saunders, two Jewish teens from completely different worlds. Reuven, Barry Miller, is your regular modern Orthodox guy, while Danny, Robbie Benson, is the son of a strict Hasidic rabbi, with a mind as sharp as a tack, but a heart full of conflict. These two lads start off as rivals in a heated baseball match, resulting in an injury that surprisingly paves the way for an unlikely friendship. As their bond deepens, they face their own personal tug-of-war. Danny's dad, Reb Saunders, Rod Steiger, communicates with silence, letting religious study do all the talking. On the flip side, Reuven's dad, David Malter, Maximilian Schell, is all about progress and supports the creation of Israel, which isn't the coolest topic in the traditional Hasidic circles. This flick is more than just a movie. It's a dive into balancing beliefs, brains, and bold dreams, revealing the push and pull between sticking to traditions and embracing modern life in the Jewish community. Reception critics loved The Chosen for its deep dive into cultural and religious themes. Hats off to Rod Steiger for his standout performance as Reb Saunders. This might not have been a box office giant, but it sure snagged respect as a solid adaptation of Potok's novel and offered a genuine peek into Jewish American life. Released on June 4th, 1982, on Rotten Tomatoes, it's chilling with a 75% critics score, and over on IMDb, folks have rated it 7 out of 10. Best part? You can catch The Chosen for free on YouTube Movies. Grab some popcorn, settle in, and let this classic take you on a meaningful journey. Hey there! Fancy a classic 80s flick that'll tickle your funny bone and keep you on the edge of your seat? Check out Hanky, Panky, a comedy thriller from 1982 directed by Sidney Poitier, starring the hilarious duo Gene Wilder and Gilda Radner. This film mixes up comedy, romance and suspense into a story bursting with mistaken identities, government secrets, and one man's wild ride through a dangerous conspiracy. Plot summary. So here's the deal. Michael Jordan, no, not the basketball player, this is Gene Wilder we're talking about, is just your everyday guy who suddenly finds himself knee-deep in espionage and murder. After meeting a mysterious woman who later ends up dead, Michael's on the run, with both cops and criminals hot on his trail. Running alongside him is Kate, played by the charming Gilda Radner, who's digging into her brother's suspicious death. Together, they dodge danger, chase down the truth, and stumble into all sorts of comedic chaos. Cast highlights: Gene Wilder as Michael Jordan, Gilda Radner as Kate, Kathleen Quinlan as Janet Dunn. This was the first time Gene Wilder and Gilda Radner teamed up on screen, and spoiler alert, they ended up getting hitched in real life. Although Hanky Panky tried to ride on the waves of Wilder's earlier hits like Silver Streak, it got mixed reviews. Critics loved the chemistry between Wilder and Radner, but thought the film was a bit all over the map with its tone and pacing. When Hanky Panky hit theatres on June 4th, 1982, it didn't exactly break box office records. It made $10 million, but that's against a $14 million budget. Ouch! Critics weren't exactly throwing roses either, giving it a 45% on Rotten Tomatoes and a 5 out of 10 on IMDb. Tough crowd, huh? But hey, don't let that stop you. Gene Wilder and Gilda Radner together, that's pure magic. Catch their iconic first screen appearance in Hanky Panky, streaming for free on Tubi right now. Why not see what all the fuss is about and have yourself a laugh? Poltergeist, 1982, is a supernatural horror film directed by Tobe Hooper, with Steven Spielberg in the producer and co-writer's chair. This one has become a real staple in the horror world, mixing those classic haunted house chills with some seriously cool special effects. So, what's the deal with the story? Well, we follow the Freeling family living a nice suburban life in California. Things get spooky when their youngest, Carol Ann, played by Heather O'Rourke, starts chatting with ghosts through the TV. Before they know it, poor Carol Ann gets snatched into another realm. Her parents, Steve, Craig T. Nelson, and Diane, Jo Beth Williams, bring in some ghost hunting pros and a psychic medium named Tangina Barons, Zelda Rubinstein, to save the day. As they dig deeper, they find out their home was built on top of a graveyard. The bodies stayed put while the headstones were moved, which, as you can imagine, ticked off the spirits. Yikes. Now, let's talk about some cool stuff from the movie. Special effects, they're nothing short of epic. You've got things flying around, ghostly figures making appearances, and even a monstrous beast standing watch over Carol Ann. The so-called Poltergeist curse. It's a bit of a creepy legend since several cast members like Heather O'Rourke and Dominique Dunn, the older sister, suffered tragic fates after the film. That, quote, "They're here," Carol Ann's chilling call announcing the spirits has become one of horror movie history's most memorable lines. On to its legacy. Poltergeist totally killed it at the box office, bringing in over $120 million globally. It led to 2 sequels, a 2015 remake, and paved the way for a ton of other haunted house flicks. There were some debates about whether Spielberg or Hooper had the final say creatively, but no matter, the film's still treasured by fans. Released on June 4th, 1982, Poltergeist was a massive hit, pulling in $77 million from a $10 million budget. Even today, critics are still singing its praises, with an 88% score on Rotten Tomatoes. On IMDb, fans gave it a respectable 7 out of 10. If you're in for a scare, you can catch Poltergeist on Paramount Plus if you're a subscriber. Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, is hands down one of the fan favourites in the Star Trek universe. Directed by Nicholas Meyer, it's the second flick in the original Star Trek film series. It's basically a direct follow-up to that classic Star Trek, the original series episode, Space Seed, from way back in 1967. You've got the iconic crew with William Shatner as Captain James T. Kirk, Leonard Nimoy as Spock, and DeForest Kelley as Dr. McCoy, all facing off against Ricardo Montalban's epic villain, Khan Noonien Singh. The story kicks off with Admiral Kirk feeling all those feels about aging and pondering his legacy. Meanwhile, Khan, that genetically enhanced baddie from Kirk's past, is back and ready to stir things up. After escaping from exile, he's out for revenge because Kirk left him stranded on CT Alpha 5. With the USS Reliant under his control, Khan sets his eyes on the experimental Genesis device, a terraforming gadget that's basically a world changer. Kirk and his trusty crew on the USS Enterprise end up in a nail-biting space showdown with Khan. The movie dives into some pretty deep stuff like vengeance, sacrifice, and the whole mortality thing. And let's not forget that epic finale inside the Mutara Nebula where Spock makes the ultimate sacrifice, delivering that unforgettable line. The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few or the one. This film gave the Star Trek franchise a much-needed boost after Star Trek. The motion picture didn't quite hit the mark. Spock's death scene. It still brings tears to the eyes and is one of the most iconic moments in sci-fi. Kirk's dramatic "Khan" scream. It's a meme that stayed in pop culture forever. The movie set the stage for Star Trek III, The Search for Spock. Fun fact, it gives us Chekhov's gun in a very literal way, even though there's a cheeky retcon about his history with Khan. All in all, The Wrath of Khan is a thrilling ride, packed with emotion and character-driven moments, keeping it a top fave for Trekkies everywhere. The film hit theatres on June 4th, 1982, and it was a massive hit, pulling in $80 million on just an $11 million budget. Critics are still raving about it with an 86% score on Rotten Tomatoes and a solid 7.7 out of 10 from fans on IMDb. Want to jump into Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan? It's just a click away if you're subscribed to Paramount+. Hey there, got a couple of minutes? Let's chat about a little gem from the 80s that you've probably heard about, E.T. the Extraterrestrial. Directed by the legendary Steven Spielberg and penned by Melissa Matheson, this movie's got it all: heartfelt moments, a dash of adventure, and that special dose of wonder. It's about this young kid, Elliot, who comes across an alien left behind on Earth. The two form an unshakable bond and embark on a mission to get E.T. back home, all while dodging those pesky government agents. Now for the rundown. We've got Elliot, played by a young Henry Thomas, who stumbles upon this friendly alien and names him E.T. With a little help from his siblings, Gertie, that's little Drew Barrymore, and Michael, Robert McNaughton, they try to keep E.T. under wraps. But as time ticks by, E.T. starts to weaken, and so does Elliot, leading to a teary farewell as E.T. heads back to his home planet. Tissues at the ready, folks. E.T. was a hit at the Oscars too, snagging 4 wins out of its 9 nominations. Plus, it keeps showing up in lists of the greatest movies ever made. Not too shabby, huh? Decades later, E.T. is still warming hearts and serving nostalgia, capturing the essence of being a kid and that deep-seated need for connection. Released on June 11th, 1982, E.T. became a mega hit, turning a tiny budget into a massive $800 million box office success. Critics, they still dig it. With a stellar score of 99% on Rotten Tomatoes and an 8/10 on IMDb, it's clear that E.T.'s magic hasn't faded one bit. Want to relive the magic? You can easily find E.T. the Extraterrestrial on streaming rental platforms like Google Play. So what are you waiting for? Grab some popcorn and experience the wonder all over again. Hey there, movie buffs and nostalgia seekers. Have you ever wanted to dive back into the 60s with a twist? Well, buckle up for Grease 2, the 1982 sequel to the iconic 78 musical Grease. Patricia Birch, who waved her magic wand over the original's dance moves, is back in the director's seat, trying to bring that retro charm alive again with a fresh cast and a brand new storyline. So here's the scoop. We're back at Rydell High, but it's 1961 now. Meet Stephanie Zanone, played by the fabulous Michelle Pfeiffer. She's the top dog among the Pink Ladies and is looking to shake things up in the boyfriend department. Enter Michael Carrington, Maxwell Caulfield, the cute British exchange student and cousin of Sandy from the first flick. Michael isn't your average rider, though. He's got a secret alter ego, the Cool Rider, a mysterious leather-clad biker who's destined to make Stephanie swoon. Get ready to groove with these cool cats. Michelle Pfeiffer as Stephanie Zanone, Maxwell Caulfield as Michael Carrington, Adrian Zmed as Johnny Nogerelli, and surprise, surprise, familiar faces Didi Conn, Frenchie, and Eve Arden, Principal McGee, return for some fun cameos. Unlike the first Grease, we're switching gears with all new tunes. Think of killer tracks like Cool Rider, where Michelle lets loose about her craving for a rebel. Back to School Again, kicked off by the Four Tops to start our high school misadventures. Reproduction, a cheeky classroom jam about, you guessed it, biology. Who's That Guy? When Michael wows everyone as the mystery biker. Okay, real talk. Grease 2 didn't exactly rock the box office or get love letters from critics when it debuted on June 11th, 1982. It hasn't surpassed the legendary first film, sitting at 36% on Rotten Tomatoes and scoring a 4.6 out of 10 on IMDb. But hey, with time, it's become a cult classic. Fans and a few brave critics have come around to appreciate Michelle Pfeiffer's electric performance and those quirky, campy tunes. Want to judge for yourself? Tune in and stream Grease 2 on Paramount+. It might just become your next guilty pleasure. Hey there, movie buffs! Let's chat about Author, a 1982 comedy drama where we get to see Al Pacino, yes, Pacino himself, take on a not-so-usual role. This one's directed by Arthur Hiller and penned by Israel Horovitz, bringing a different flavour from the great Al. Meet Ivan Trevelyan, played by our man Pacino. Ivan's a Broadway playwright who's right in the middle of a whirlwind. He's grinding away on his latest play when his wife Gloria, Tuesday Weld, dips out unexpectedly. And she doesn't just leave Ivan, she leaves behind their kid plus her other kids from past relationships. Ivan's got a lot on his plate, parenting all these kids he's come to adore, and somehow squeezing in time for his career drama. Add a demanding lead actress, Alice Detroit, Diane Cannon, and you've got a recipe for pure chaos. The flick digs deep into the nitty-gritty of family life, balancing big-time responsibilities with personal dreams. We see Ivan evolve from a self-centered playwright into a top-notch dad. It's got that perfect mix of drama and light-hearted moments, really zooming in on the ups and downs of single parenthood and creative battles. Now, when it hit theatres, Author got a bit of a mixed bag in reviews. Critics loved Pacino, the script not so much. Some found it a tad sentimental and uneven. It didn't smash box office records, but still stands out as a rare feel-good role for Al Pacino, the guy we know from intense gigs in The Godfather and Serpico. The film premiered on June 18, 1982, raking in $13 million at the box office. On Rotten Tomatoes, it sits at a 50% critic score, while folks on IMDb give it a solid 6 out of 10. FYI, it's not on the mainstream streaming sites, but fear not. You'll find it preserved online through a link on the Internet Archive. Check out the description for that. Looking for a high-flying Cold War adventure? Dive into the 1982 techno thriller Firefox, directed by and starring the legendary Clint Eastwood. Meet Mitchell Gant, a former US Air Force pilot played by Clint Eastwood, who's grappling with PTSD from his Vietnam War days. Just when he thinks he's out, US intelligence pulls him back in for a jaw-dropping covert mission. His task? Sneak into the Soviet Union and swipe their super-secret badass fighter jet, the MiG-31 Firefox. This isn't just any aircraft. The Firefox zips through the skies at Mach 6, dodges radar like a pro, and listens to your thoughts to unleash its weapons. Talk about futuristic. With a hand from Soviet dissidents, Gant sneaks into the USSR, dodges the KGB, and infiltrates the airbase. After nabbing the Firefox, things heat up as another prototype takes off to hunt him down. Cast: Clint Eastwood as Mitchell Gant, Freddie Jones as Kenneth Aubrey, aka the British intelligence guy, David Huffman as Captain Buckholtz. This flick blends spy game antics with military tech action like a boss. Sure, the MiG-31 Firefox is a fictional piece of genius, but it's inspired by some real-deal Soviet aircraft. Critics back then were a mixed bag about Firefox. They were all in for the espionage vibes, but felt the pace dragged a bit. Despite that, the film scored big at the box office, raking in over $46 million against a $21 million budget. Fast forward to today, and while the special effects might seem a bit vintage compared to today's CGI, they definitely paved the way. Even if the critics were split, Firefox has earned its stripes with a cult following among those who dig Cold War narratives and killer military aviation scenes. The MiG-31 Firefox jet? Yeah, it's etched into pop culture as a futuristic aircraft straight out of sci-fi dreams. The movie hit theatres on June 18, 1982, and cleaned up nicely at the box office. It's still doing the rounds with fans, holding a modest 41% critics score on Rotten Tomatoes and a 6 out of 10 on IMDb. Want to relive the mission? Firefox is just a click away on streaming rental sites like Google Play. So are you ready for takeoff? Blade Runner 1982 is a sci-fi classic that oozes cool and gritty vibes. Directed by Ridley Scott, it's loosely based on Philip K. Dick's novel Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? The story dives into the chaotic world of post-apocalyptic LA in 2019, with Harrison Ford playing Rick Deckard, a burnt-out Blade Runner pulled back into the game to hunt down some rogue replicants, kinda like super smart human robots who've busted out from their off-world prison and landed back on Earth. So let's break down the plot. Picture a Los Angeles that's overcrowded, covered in smog, and totally run by mega-corporations. Enter the Tyrell Corporation, masterminds behind these nearly human replicants that are banned from Earth. They've got just 4 years to live. When 4 of these bad boys, led by Roy Batty, played by the intense Rutger Hauer, manage to break free and make it back to Earth, Deckard gets the call to track them down. In the mix, Deckard meets Rachel, the stunning Sean Young, a replicant who doesn't even know she's not human. His interactions with her and the other replicants start messing with his head, making him question what it really means to be human. Blade Runner isn't just about cool visuals and chasing down rogue robots, though it's got plenty of that. It's a philosophical journey wrapped in a noir atmosphere. Here are a few themes that'll get your noggin working. Humanity versus AI. What does real even mean? Mortality and existentialism. The replicants are not loving this whole limited lifespan mechanic, corporate overreach and dystopia. Picture giant corporations controlling everything amidst a dying planet. Memory and identity. Rachel's fake memories make her believe she's just like you and me. Crazy, right? Visually, Blade Runner's pure cyberpunk. The towering skyscrapers, blinding neon lights, and never-ending rain. It took a leaf from the film noir playbook and set the style bar for sci-fi flicks sky high. In case you're wondering, there are several versions of this masterpiece out there. Theatrical Cut, 1982. Deckard's thoughts voiced over and a slightly happier ending. Director's Cut, 1992. Ditches the voiceover, inserts a dream sequence hinting that maybe Deckard isn't just your average Joe. Final Cut, 2007. The Big Kahuna restored visuals, juiced up effects, and storytelling that leaves more to your imagination. Even though it didn't sell out theaters back in the day, Blade Runner built up a cult following and is now hailed as one of the greatest sci-fi films ever. It even sparked the 2017 sequel, Blade Runner 2049, under director Denis Villeneuve, which takes the original's deep themes and runs with them. Blade Runner hit theaters on June 25, 1982, raking in over $41 million against its $28 million budget. Not bad, right? These days, it's got an 89% critics score on Rotten Tomatoes and a solid 8/10 on IMDb. Not too shabby. If you haven't seen it or need a rewatch, you can stream Blade Runner on platforms like Google Play. Dive into this neo-noir world and you won't regret it. Megaforce 1982 is one wild ride. This action-packed sci-fi adventure flick comes from Hal Needham, the genius behind Smokey and the Bandit and the Cannonball Run. We're talking high-octane fun with Barry Bostwick starring as Ace Hunter, the fearless leader of a super high-tech international strike force. These guys use futuristic vehicles and weaponry to tackle global threats head-on. So here's the scoop. Megaforce is this elite military gang made up of soldiers from all around the world. They're not tied down by politics, they're all about keeping the peace. When the peaceful nation of Sardin faces a threat from the evil dictator Guerrera, played by the menacing Henry Silva, Major Zara, the cool Persis Kambata, and General Byrne White, the no-nonsense Edward Mulhare, come knocking on Megaforce's door. It's up to Ace Hunter and his crew to spring into action with their super cool motorcycles and armoured beast machines to save the day. Okay, so here's the thing. When Megaforce hit theatres, it flopped big time. Critics weren't impressed due to the iffy special effects, simple plot and overblown performances. But hey, over the years, it's found love among fans who crave a dose of cheesy 80s action flicks. Megaforce's influence might surprise you, popping up in later action and sci-fi films. It even got a nod in the 2004 parody, Team America: World Police. Despite not raking in cash at the box office, Megaforce is still a blast from the past for anyone who's into that 80s action vibe. Mark your calendar. Megaforce hit screens on June 25th, 1982, but only pulled in a disappointing $5 million against a $20 million budget. Today's critics don't really change their tune much about Megaforce, with a sad 6% score on Rotten Tomatoes. And IMDb users aren't too kind either, rating it a 3.7 out of 10. But hey, if you're into digging out some nostalgia, go ahead and check it out for yourself. Megaforce is available with commercials on Amazon Prime. Grab some popcorn and enjoy the trip. Alright folks, let's talk about a classic that still sends shivers down spines. The Thing from 1982. This sci-fi horror gem, directed by the legendary John Carpenter, is often hailed as one of the finest horror films ever. It's a chilling remake of the 1951 movie, The Thing from Another World, and both flicks are inspired by John W. Campbell Jr.'s novella, Who Goes There? So here's the lowdown. Picture an isolated Antarctic research station. It's the setting for our story, where a bunch of American scientists stumble upon a creepy, shape-shifting alien. This thing, pun intended, can mimic anything perfectly, which sparks a wave of paranoia and mistrust among the team. As they try to figure out who's still human and who's been, well, thingified, all hell breaks loose. Our guy, R.J. McCready, yep, that's Kurt Russell, steps up to lead the charge against this alien menace. Now, let's chat about some of the film's key themes. It's a masterclass in paranoia and isolation. The psychological horror ramps up as the crew starts side-eyeing each other. Then there's the body horror. Those gnarly transformations are the stuff of nightmares. And don't forget about the fight for survival, not only against the alien, but against the harsh Antarctic elements too. Speaking of visuals, this film is a showcase of next-level special effects, courtesy of Rob Bottin. The bizarre and unforgettable creature designs have left an indelible mark on horror cinema. When The Thing first hit theatres on June 25th, 1982, it didn't exactly set the box office on fire. E.T. had captured the world's hearts with its friendly alien counterpart. The Thing pulled in $20 million on a $15 million budget, but fast forward to today, and it's got a serious fan base. Critics and horror buffs alike love it. The flick holds an 85% critic score on Rotten Tomatoes and an 8.2 rating on IMDb. If you're in the mood for a thrilling ride, The Thing is streaming free with a few ads on the Tubi app. Go ahead, give it a watch, and see why it's a staple of horror and suspense.